Some nights don't start with trouble. They start with a sound. In New Bordeaux, that sound wasn't gunfire or sirens or screaming tires. It was vinyl. A needle dropping on a record slow enough to make the whole room hold its breath. That's how I knew something was wrong. Because the night I came back, the record wasn't playing New Bordeaux, 1968. A city stitched together with jazz, bourbon, and the kind of violence people pretend is just business. I had been gone for 5 years, long enough for the locals to forget my name, but not long enough for the city to forget my sins. I once ran collections for Marcellus Kane, a man who smiled like a preacher and killed like a surgeon. Back then, I thought I was playing the game. Turns out, I was just another chip being pushed across the table. I left after one job went sideways, after one vinyl record ended up covered in something thicker than dust. I swore I'd never see this place again. But promises don't mean much in New Bordeaux. Debt speaks louder. And that night, standing in my old apartment, staring at a silent record player, I felt the city clear its throat, like it was warning me. The music's about to start again. I didn't come back for revenge. I came back for a box the size of a shoebox, heavy enough to carry a past worth killing for. Inside it was everything I'd ever tried to forget. Photographs, ledgers, a single bullet wrapped in a torn concert flyer. But someone had beaten me to it. The box was gone. Only one thing remained, a vinyl record lying on the floor, cracked down the middle. I recognized it. A rare blues pressing we used to play during collections, like the soundtrack to someone else's nightmare. The crack wasn't accidental. It was a message. Whoever took the box wanted me to know the past wasn't buried. It was humming, vibrating, ready to play again. And just like that, I wasn't here for closure anymore. I was here for the truth. Every city has a man who knows too much. In New Bordeaux, that man was Walter Briggs. He ran a pawn shop near the Hollow, a place where stolen memories hung on the walls, and every item had a blood stain, even if you couldn't see it. I found Walter counting bills that didn't belong to him. He looked older, thinner, but his eyes, still sharp enough to slice through lies. He didn't need me to ask anything. Some men feel danger like a draft under a locked door. He just said, "They're looking for you." Not who, not why, just they. The kind of people that don't have names, only territories. He told me the box had changed hands, moved from the pawn shop to a warehouse, to someone who made even Marcellus Kane nervous. Someone who collected secrets like trophies. Someone who wanted mine. Walter tried to warn me, but warnings don't stick to men who've already decided they're dead. I walked out before he finished talking. I didn't hear his last words, but I felt them. Like a record scratching right before the song turns violent. The warehouse sat near the docks, rust peeling, windows blacked out, the smell of salt and gasoline thick enough to chew. Inside, I heard music. Not live, recorded. A blues track from the 40s, so warped and worn that every note dragged a little, like the record was dying in slow motion. There were crates everywhere, not marked, not labeled, just stacked like tombstones. I pried one open. Vinyl, hundreds of records, some new, some ancient, all pristine. And then I saw it. One sleeve stained brown around the edges, a match to the record I'd found in my apartment. They weren't collecting music. They were collecting stories, confessions, blackmail, leverage. Each record wasn't a song. It was a crime. The box they stole from me? It wasn't about the objects inside. It was about what those objects proved. I realized something then. Marcellus Kane wasn't the conductor of this symphony. He was just another musician. Someone else was playing the tune. There are truths in this city that never die. They just get quieter. I went to the only place in New Bordeaux where the past still screamed. The old jazz bar on Verdana Street. The lights were low. The air tasted like cigarettes and memories. The stage was empty. But there, in the middle of the room, was the box. Placed on a table like an offering, I should have walked away. But some ghosts don't let you leave. When I opened it, I found something new inside. A vinyl record with my name carved into the label. No title, no track list, just my name. That was when the speakers crackled. Someone somewhere pressed play, and the record began. I didn't need to hear more than a second. It wasn't music, it was surveillance, recordings of my voice, my threats, my promises, my crimes. Someone had been recording me for years, since before I fled, since before I even knew I had enemies. This wasn't blackmail. This wasn't leverage. This was a legacy, a curated biography of every sin I'd ever tried to bury. And the message was clear. Your story isn't yours anymore. There's a moment when a man stops running, not because he's safe, but because he's tired. I took the record, walked out into the night, and headed to the only place big enough to bury a past this loud, the old pressing plant outside the city. Inside, machines slept like metal giants. Dust hung in the air like ghosts. I smashed the record, every piece, every shard, every whisper of who I used to be. But destroying it didn't give me peace. It gave me clarity. The people who made that record weren't afraid of me exposing them. They were afraid of me forgetting, because men without pasts are unpredictable, and men with nothing left to lose are dangerous. The sun rose slow, dragging light across the empty factory floor. I stood there, breathing in dust and regret, surrounded by pieces of the man I used to be. New Bordeaux wouldn't forgive me. It wouldn't forget me. And it damn sure wouldn't let me walk away clean. But something had changed. For the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of the music starting again. I was afraid of it stopping. Because once the vinyl ends, once the last song fades, all that's left is the truth. And the truth is simple. The city doesn't own me anymore. Well, I own the ending. If there's blood on the vinyl, let it be mine. But the story plays on.